You're right, George. Oh, and Poppy. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I hope you're well. It's a beautiful, quiet, still Sunday morning. The sun's shining, the birds are tweeting, my cats are everywhere. Someone gave me a box of wet cat food, you know, the kind of stuff that comes in pouches. Oh, the smell. Oh, it's disgusting. Anyway, yeah, they gave me that ostensibly so that I could feed George because he's feral, bless him. I've given a little tiny bit of it to Poppy, but mostly to George. Anyway, ever since, in the last few days since I've been putting that out, apart from the fact that I'm gagging every time, well, I think word's gone around the cat neighbourhood. Yay, Vivi's got wet pouches. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so, now excuse me, I'm in the same clothes that I was wearing the other day when I was huffing and puffing and digging and getting sweaty. I probably stink. I don't actually. The point is, the top was in the laundry basket, and I'm going to get mucky again today, so let's just hoik it out and wear it again. At the moment, I'm quite aware of how much extra water I'm using by way of all the extra hand washing. Now, obviously, I hand wash all the time anyway, don't we all? Apparently not. But I'm certainly, you're right, Poppykins, you're going to come and say hello to everyone. So, hello. Oh, you can't see it, can you? Come up here. Yeah, but we're obviously all doing way more hand washing than usual. So I'm just really highly aware that I'm using more water that way. So trying to do less laundry. And actually I'm trying to catch my hand washing water and use it for flushing the loo. So, yeah, dirty top, same top. I've got clean undercrackers on. Now listen, just before I go in the garden, I'm just going to have a little quick moan. Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm going to have a moan. So, compost gate. Yeah, I'm still banging on about compost. Hey, gorgeous girl. You still can't see her, can you? She's here. Ooh. Right. So, I placed my order 4 weeks tomorrow. 4 weeks. I received an email 12 days ago to say that my order had been dispatched and I would receive it within the next 48 hours. That was 12 days ago. Still haven't received it. So, yesterday I did masses of potting on. I'm probably going to be using a bit more compost this year than usual, just because I'm trying to bring on extra plants. Excuse me, because I know there's loads of people who haven't been able to get seed even, never mind the compost to bring the seeds on. So I'm using a little bit more than usual. And after yesterday's mass, I'm just going to tip you down a bit because I want you to be able to see Poppy because she's so lovely. There we go. Yeah, after this mass potting on session yesterday, I thought, oh, I'm getting a bit low. And I was thinking, do you know what? This local company who were brilliant at getting this new order to me in the space of 3 hours, I've checked on their website and they do a peat-free compost. So I thought, do you know what? Stuff it. I'm going to get a refund from the other company and I'm going to go local. I'm going to get the whole order from my local people and probably a little bit extra. So I thought, yeah, that's what I'll do. By the time I made that decision, it was late Saturday evening. Sunday today, not going to ring them today. So I thought, I'll do that Monday morning. So I've checked my emails this morning and I've had an email from my original company. And this is why I'm getting a bit miffed with them actually, because in the email they said that they are dispatching seed orders within 3 to 5 days of the order being placed. 3 to 5 days. I thought, my order's 4 weeks ago. And then it said for everything else, they described sort of equipment, so like compost, nets, tools, whatever. They are now dispatching orders placed on the 28th of March. Well, my order was the 23rd of March. So I just thought, oh, yeah, I'm just going to get a refund. So I scroll down this email. It's one of those generic ones, you know, they do to everyone. And it got to the bit about refunds at the bottom, and it said, we are not issuing refunds on orders. If your order arrives and it's damaged, or you're not happy with it in any way, of course, you may return it to us for a full refund. But I was like, well, I can't return an order to you that I haven't had. And even if it's not damaged, that's kind of missing the point, because actually they've missed the window now for when I need the compost. It's, you know, gardening is quite time specific. I mean, I know I was saying the other day that there is quite a bit of flexibility with the garden. You know, there's flexibility in terms of sort of 4 or 5 weeks here or there. So for instance, today I'm going to do my spuds. I could have done them 3 weeks ago. I could still do them over the next couple of weeks. So there is a little bit of flexibility. But when it comes to, you know, my seed sowing, my potting on, if I hadn't potted on all those things that I've just potted on with the compost I bought from the other company, they would have been, you know, ruined, wrecked, beyond use. I've just about caught them in time. I hope. And now, of course, I've got a load more seeds to sow, so all my squash, cucumbers. Oh, there's masses of stuff to sow down here, flint corn, brassicas, beets. It's the sowing time of year. So basically, I don't know, I do feel like I should have the right to a refund. And I know, it's extraordinary times, it's difficult at the moment. But it just irked me that, you know, if they can get seed orders out in 3 days, why can't they get my compost ordered to me after 4 weeks? Okay, grump over. I don't know. So, but the good thing is, just to say very quickly, because some of you sent me some money, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. I think what I'm going to do on Monday is I am going to do another order. It'll be my 3rd compost order of the year with my local company. I'm going to double up the amount that I ordered last time, make sure it's the peat-free stuff, and just get on with the things I need to get on with. And then if my original order eventually does turn up, well, you know, I'm sure I can keep some of it till next year. But to be honest with you, I'm sure I will find a use for it this year. So we'll wait and see. Okay, so the main thing to do today is plant my gorgeous potatoes. So just before we go out there, this is a note for the newbies. Newbie note! How are you all doing? I'm going to be planting today some earlies and some main crop spuds. I'm sure you've been online by now, you've been looking at books, and you'll see first earlies, second earlies, early mains, late main, you know, there's all these different terms. Look, they're all spuds. So the early spuds, that's what we think of as our salad potatoes. So if you're in the UK, think your gorgeous Jersey Royals, those beautiful, beautiful, waxy, scrumdiddly little new potatoes that we get around the end of June, beginning of July. The main crops, that's your ones, if you think about the kind of potatoes that you might want to make mash from them, or chips. For me, it's mostly about baking them. I love a baked potato. So I've got my earlies and my main crops. My earlies, and I'm just going to show you little examples. So, oh, that cushion fell over, and I thought for one awful moment I'd sat on a part of Poppy. Did I sit on you, baby girl? So here's my early, and you know, you'll be used to this from buying them in the shops anyway. Your earlies, they tend to be the little ones. So that's my early. It's a variety called Anya. And this is my main crop. So I'm going to get nice big spuds from this. This is Cara. So the other thing you will quite often see is people planting them at different times, staging, staggering. To me, that's way too much faff, and I've never bothered to plant them at different times and do all that nonsense. I haven't got time for being that disciplined, that organised, what have you. I literally have my spud planting day, they all go in, they're done. So these will be ready by about the end of July. Might get a few a little bit earlier. And then my main crops, I might start having a few out sort of mid-September, but generally speaking, I take the lot out. I start harvesting for immediate use about the beginning of October. Then by the middle of October, they all come out to be stored because I need that space for my next crop. So when you plant them, bear in mind when they're going to come out of the ground. So the new potatoes, they'll be out probably by the end of July, beginning of August. Great, they'll be out. I can follow that with my brassicas, if I ever get the seeds sown. So as soon as these are out, I fill up that space with a brassica of some description. When I did it last year, I followed these with my lovely purple sprouting broccoli. Because these won't come out till October, that's way too long for my brassicas to sit in their little pots in the cold frame waiting to be planted. So I follow my main crop, they come out, and that's when I sow or plant my garlic. Don't get too hung up on any of this because I'm sure at the moment you haven't even thought that far ahead. The main thing is just get your spuds in. But if you want to be a bit of an organised nerdy in terms of planning your space, if you want to put garlic in, for example, think to yourself, it can follow your main crop spuds in October. If you want to put a slightly earlier, more summery thing in, even something like a late planting of beans. If you brought some beans on in pots, you could follow your salad spuds at the end of July with some beans and get a very, very, very last little late harvest of beans. So, without further ado, let's go and get planting. And the one thing I have to remember is, so this is another point to bear in mind. I don't really want to confuse you. This is more note to self. Not only am I thinking about what's following these two in terms of brassica and garlic, I'm also thinking already to 2021 about what will follow the garlic and what will follow the brassicas. And each year I've planted them this way round. So the second crop following this ends up being the celery, and this, plant them that way round normally. And this normally gets followed by the garlic and then the flint corn, which is too tall, it's giving too much shade. So this year, if you saw my plan way back in January, you remember I said I must remember to swap them so that next year, after the... which way round? Yeah, after the garlic comes out, the flint corn goes in, and after the purple sprouting broccoli comes out and the celery goes in, because, let me show you like this. This is the south, the sun comes this way. The great big tall flint corn won't be overshadowing the celery. Is that right? Yes. Look, if you're new to all this, please, please, please don't worry about all of that for now. This is just based on my practice over the last 3 or 4 years. And it's like I'm always saying, we're always learning, we're always thinking, next year I'll do something slightly differently. And it's always about trying to get the best harvest we can. So as I go out there this morning, I'm going to, before I plant anything, just really double check in my head and think forward to the next crop and then the subsequent crop to that. Makes sense, doesn't it? Come on, Let's go and do some planting. We're a bit into really bright light this morning, but I don't mind. First things first, I'm going to just place them so I get my spacing right. So, I've quadruple checked in my own mind. Yes, main crops. So that's my big ones, that's my ones for baking. They want to be, ideally, about 2 feet apart in the row and at least 2 feet between rows. I'm more like 18 inches and 18 inches just because I don't have a huge amount of space. That just means that my yield may be a little bit smaller. But to be honest, hang on a sec, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, but to be honest, in the past it hasn't made a huge difference. I mean, I still get enough for me, enough that I like. This is why it's quite a good idea to just lay them out first of all, because then you can jiggle it a bit and give them a bit more space. So I'm going to do that based on how many I've got. So yeah, ideally for your main crops, 2 feet between rows. For the new potatoes, they are smaller. You can go 18 inches between plants, 18 inches between rows. Between plants, I may be really naughty and really greedy and actually go for just 12 inches. Isn't it funny how we flop about between metric and imperial? Like, I always do my height in imperial, height and weight in imperial, unless it's the weight of a baby or a child, and then I'm in metric. And in the garden, in terms of spacing, you know, one day I'm talking inches, and the next I'm talking centimetres and metres. Right, so I've got one spare spot on the end. I'll put a new potato in there, but I'll just mark it or try to remember. Okay, stand back, have a look. Happy with the spacing? Yes, so let's get down there and get planting. So, back to what I was saying when I was digging my trenches, although I didn't dig my trenches this year after all, but just back to that thing of why I've got this ridge for earthing, why I'm going to sink the potatoes. Basically, when our potato grows, so we've got these lovely little chits that have developed, they're really sturdy, that's where the whole plant is going to grow from. And as that stem grows up, either side, I'm going to get loads and loads of lovely spuds, hopefully. So I want to plant it deep so that as it's growing and producing those potatoes are a good way under the soil. And then as it keeps growing and keeps growing, that's why we kind of drag this earth back over the top of them, so that the plant keeps growing and it keeps producing its little new potatoes, or not new potatoes, salad potatoes, new harvest of spuds from the sides. So I want to get it nice and deep, and like I say, as the season progresses and I'm seeing more and more growth out of the top of the soil, I'll very simply just keep dragging a bit more of this earth back over it. And that's when people talk about earthing up their spuds, that's what they're talking about. So I'm going to try and get them as deep as I can. There we go. Just give that a gentle cover up. Done. Great. The other good thing about having this earth mound is once those first shoots are appearing, and this would apply particularly if you'd got your spuds in on St Patrick's Day on the 17th of March, but if I've got these lovely tender new shoots coming up the ground, and then suddenly it looks like we're going to get a frost, I can of course bring that earth over the top of those shoots to protect them from the frost, and then they'll carry on growing. Great. If you don't have a load of earth to drag over your spuds, and there is a frost warning, then get them covered in fleece. If you don't have fleece, especially if this is your first year of growing and you haven't got all that kit yet, you can use all sorts to cover them. Straw, so if you happen to have straw, bury them under a load of straw. If you don't, then you could try something like newspapers, a few layers of cardboard, anything just to protect them overnight while that frost is happening. Hopefully we won't have too many more chilly nights now. So I was mentioning briefly or extensively, I don't know, I'll go on, about the year when I'd broken my wrists and I had a rubbish harvest because the spuds were being pushed up rather than being able to grow out at the sides. The reason the harvest was rubbish was because they all turned green. They turned green in reaction to exposure to the sun. Now, spuds have a chemical in them called solanine. I think it's called solanine, which in small amounts isn't a bother, but in large amounts it's actually toxic. It can cause nausea, headaches. It can actually cause some really bad neurological issues. So when your spuds are green, the green's actually chlorophyll, but it's an indicator that sun exposure will have increased the solanine levels to a level which is toxic. So don't eat your green spuds. So for example, if you're going to be growing potatoes in containers, whatever that container is, just make sure it blocks the light out. And actually this year, I've had some ideas about this. I think I might have 1 or 2 of my new potatoes left over as spares, and I've got an idea for them for a container growing experiment. If I can sort compost issues out. I've got a plan for that too. Anyway, so let me get on with planting. Actually, once the hard work of getting this bed prepped, once that hard work is done, this shouldn't take too long, and it's quite pleasurable, especially on a sunny, quiet Sunday morning with naught but the birds and the cats for company, and one of my favourite plot neighbours over there who we've been waving back and forth. Yes, so let me crack on, and then I'm going to see if my idea for this container grown spud this year is going to be viable. I have to check something out before. I'm just on my way to the far back end of the site to problem solve, but my goodness, I had to stop and show you this on the way. One of our gorgeous apple trees in the communal orchard. It's going to creak as I move the camera, but I just want to show you against that blue sky. Oh, isn't that a beauty? Joy of joys. Bees buzzing. Also, just while I'm at this end of the garden, this is our main apple tree. Actually, it's a bit hard to see. It's now stopping about here, whereas it had been way up there. I mean, it was so massive. If you remember, on Apple Day last year, we had to have ladders out. The ladders fell over and cracked someone on the skull. So it's been pruned and pollarded. We're really, really lucky on this site, actually, that 2 of our plot holders are tree surgeons. So they always pitch in to help with the cares of our trees. Oh, a little bit more blossom over here too. Oh, pretty. Oh, it's really snarly underfoot. Sorry if I go flying. Oh look, isn't that a sight to gladden the heart? Beautiful. Do you know, I could just sit and stay here all day. Maybe after I've done the job I'm about to do, because the job I'm about to do is going to be a bit Huffington-Puffington. Later, beautiful. This is my plan for my pots, containers, etc. I'm standing, gosh, it is wide. It's probably about 80 feet wide. Oh, who knew? It's a jellycopter. It'll be gone soon. Anyway, as I was saying, it's Sunday. We want it to be quiet today. We've got these really large communal compost bins. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. The problem is, over the years, they've been a bit abused. And, you know, sometimes I think it's out of ignorance rather than malice, but, you know, they've had all sorts of perennial weeds dumped in there. People, when they've cut turf out of the plots to reveal soil, sometimes that's couch grass, it's been chopped in here. There's plastic, there's bits of metal, glass. Basically, because they've been used for dumping rather than composting, and also, frankly, I think we just built them too big. They're too big to manage in terms of turning, what have you. So we've decided to scrap the communal composting, and now everyone's responsible for making their own compost on their own plot. I think probably once these are empty, we're going to try and get in touch with that tree surgeon we met last year and we had one delivery from. It'd be great to get more regular, but if we can get this cleared, then we could stash wood chips here. I'm right under this oak tree. It's full of life. I'm actually glad it's here because it's providing some shade, because this is going to be humpy, lumpy, grunty work. But, oh la la. Yeah. It is going to be full of rubbish, weeds, what have you, so I'll sort it a bit. But my thinking is, if I just use it in containers like topping up the hugel, using it in my grow bags, etc., then hopefully, if there are some nasty pernicious weeds in there, they'll be contained within those containers, and therefore I'll be able to deal with them. That's the thinking. Oh. But obviously, this is a year's worth of dumping, so it's really compact. Anyway, it's going to take me a while, so why don't you go and have a cup of tea while I get on with this? first barrow load, I've got to say, there was quite an effort to excavate it, and tons of plastic in it, cable ties, however, oh, sorry, I'm more itchy, however, it's material to grow in, yay! So, I've got one of these grow bags, I've got two this size, they were from Bernadette last year, thank you Bernadette, and I grew some of my peppers in it, they were great. So I've got elephant garlic in that one, and I thought I'm going to try a spud. I've also been given 3 quite smaller ones, because I suddenly thought, oh, if I do a spud, where am I going to do my peppers? But I've got 3 smaller ones from Gabby, thank you Gabby. So I put my peppers in there. And like I was saying over at the compost hopper, if there are some nasty weeds in this, well, they'll be contained. So I'm going to pop that on there for a minute, get it sort of half filled, because like I said, I'm going to try some potatoes in this year. I've got 2 really tiny, including my Mohican duck, alien duck. They are new potatoes, so they're the little salad potatoes. Now, if it doesn't go in the bag, it'll go in the hugelkultur, so that's fine. I would normally recommend, let me get a bin for plastic. The bee activity is mental. Sorry, bees in bucket, I'm using it for rubbish, sorry bees. Yeah, I would normally recommend you fill your big pots, big bags in situ, where you want to do the growing. But I'm not going to completely fill this one. And like I say, if I spill, it'll go in the hugelkultur, which is also, I thought I'd got all the plastic out already. Yeah. So in the hugelkultur, I'm going to put the obelisk back in. Oh, another cable tie. Honestly guys, single-use plastics in this day and age, why? And they just stay in the environment for, well, ever. It might as well be forever. Yeah, I'm going to get the obelisk back in, do some sweet peas up it again, and in the front of the hugelkultur again do my peppers, and in the back I will pop in a couple of achopcha to go up the fence. And of course, now that I've tried the achopcha and love them, I will definitely be harvesting earlier and more regularly. I think that might do for now, and definitely in terms of weight. Yeah. Sorry bees, I don't want to spoil your fun. Okay, I'm going to just bring you close so you can see how filled it is. Pop the spuds in. Oh, come on, shift it. Right, I hope you're going to be able to make this out with all the shadows and everything. But this bag, it's about 18 inches across, and I filled it about a third full at the moment. So I'm just going to, that looks like a bindweed root. Let's have that out. I'm just going to pop 2 in here, because really I don't think it would take much more. Then once they've sprouted up about, that one's chits are above, there we go. Once it's sprouted up about 5 or 6 inches, I'll put some more soil in, ditto until basically I'll end up having the soil level right at the top of the bag. Fab. Right, what's next? Oh, it is a huffy puffy day. Hurrah for humping and lumping. Oh, my word, it's getting warm already. Shed thermometer says 22, which is 70 Fahrenheit. It's only about 10 o'clock, half 10. But yeah, wow, warm, lumping physical work. Don't half get that blood flowing, doesn't it? Great, spuds are in, finally. And And it's really great in the back of my mind now, knowing or thinking about that communal compost. Like I say, I don't think it's going to be the best compost in the world. Well, why wouldn't it be? You know, it's been there for ages. So there is going to be matter in there, and it's good and friable. So, yeah, it's that time of the year. It's just plain old hard work getting these beds prepped. But it's only going to be for another 4 weeks or so. By the middle of May, the beds will all be prepped. The structures will be up. God, so much to do, all the bean poles. So, you know, hopefully I can do a bed a day, and why not maybe say a barrow load from that compost each day too. You know, in theory, I should be a skinny whippet. I used to be so skinny when I was younger. Now I'm very matronly. Don't know why, you know, I'm always on the go. Goodness me. Anyway, brilliant, good stuff. Stop waffling. I think this has been quite a long one. Again, I never mean to. I think it's partly because I'm trying to explain things a little bit more this year so that new growers can follow. And I hope the explanations make sense. And, you know, I'm a firm believer in knowing why I'm doing something. So, for example, if someone says to me, earth up your potatoes, you could just earth up your potatoes. But I want to know why. Why am I doing that? Any of you who are nurses will know that very well. We don't just give a medicine because a doctor's prescribed it. We want to know, why has that medicine been prescribed? Why that particular dose, etc., etc. So yes, have an inquiring mind. I think, oh, it's getting so warm. I'm going to attempt to do one more bed today before I go home. My knees are a little bit angry with me from yesterday's digging, whenever it was. So if you're like me, just pace it, listen to your body. Don't go too far beyond that pain moment, because then if you end up taking 2, 3, 4 days to recover, it wasn't worth it. You know, ideally you can do something and then the next day still be able to do something else. Oh, I'm giddy again. The site's gradually filling up this morning, little voices popping up here and there. Just singing for all their might. The bees are so active today, it's wonderful to see them. So yes, I'm going to see if I can do one more bed. If I can't, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and sit on my deck, listen to that mega activity of the bees, and just wave at all my bodies down here. So for now, it's cheerio from me. I'll see you again really soon. It's that time of year when, you know, I could probably almost be speaking to you every day. I wouldn't do that though, that would get tiresome, I'm sure. But yes, lots more sewing to get on with, and fingers crossed I can get maybe a refund on that other order. If not, never mind. I'm going to go back to my local company and see if I can get some more compost for this week. Exciting times. All right, my lovelies, please take care. Take care of yourselves and each other. And, you know, whatever your government's saying to you about the curve flattening and, oh, you know, let's get rid of restrictions or whatever, please don't go mad. You know, keep your distance. Just be safe. All right, loads of love to you all. Until next time, bye for now.